Who are the best and worst graded Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week number 2 versus the Houston Texans? Let's talk about it. Shout out to Sleeper, by the way. More on them a little bit later on in this video. You guys really liked the first, series of this type of video, so I'm going to keep it going in week number 2. Starting off with the offensive side of things, whenever we look at the top-rated offensive players in week number 1, firstly, right off the page is Ryan Miller. Now, Ryan Miller only played 18 total snaps offensively for the Bucs in this game, but he still posted a very, very solid grade of an 83.1, an 80.6 passing grade, and a run blocking grade of 72.3 as well. Shout out to Mr. Ryan Miller. At number 2 is Rachaad White actually checking in at an 80.1 overall grade. Now, he didn't do a ton in the passing game. He did get a grade of 57.8, but at pass blocking, he got an 80.3 overall grade. As a runner, he got an 81.9. Now, that was higher than Bucky Irving, actually. It was actually below Baker Mayfield, which is kind of funny. And in terms of pass blocking, Rachaad White was actually tied for the top pass blocking grade for the Bucs in week number 2. Now, he only had 3 snaps where he did have to pass block. That is certainly notable, but it is good that Rachaad White overall had a very, very solid game in week number 2. That was playing off of 25 offensive snaps, by the way. Luke Goedeke checks in at number 3 with 12 total snaps played in the game, a 77.1 overall grade. If we take a look deeper at the grades, his pass blocking was not exactly great, very pedestrian at 54.3, but his run blocking was absolutely elite at an 88.2. In fact, he was the highest run blocking graded player for the Bucs in week number 2. So shout out to Luke Goedeke for that. Payne Durham actually checks in here at number 4. He had a 74.9 overall grade, not a factor in the passing game really, with a 55.2 overall grade, but a 74.3 overall run blocking grade is very, very impressive. Finally, you have Baker Mayfield checking in at number 5. I will also shout out Michael Jordan checking in at number 6 as well. Mayfield played a great game, was phenomenal in terms of his decisions to run with the football. In terms of his passing overall grade, he got a 67, which is not bad, all things considered for a quarterback. It is above average. Mike Jordan, though. Mike Jordan. Stand up for Mike Jordan, man. I really have been very happy with this young man through a couple of weeks of the season. Look, his run blocking grade is not, phenomenal, but it's not bad. A 67.2 overall grade is certainly not bad. In fact, that is 6th on the team in terms of run blocking grades, so not bad at all. Here's the thing. Tied with Rachaad White, Michael Jordan was the best pass blocking graded player in week number 2. That is awesome to see from Mr. Mike Jordan. I'm happy that he is continuing to grow and progress with the Buccaneers and get more starts under his belt. He's been a very pleasant surprise, in my opinion. Now we got to talk about the worst graded offensive players for the Bucs here, but before we do, I do want to say real quick, shout out to the sponsor of this channel. It is Sleeper. If you guys use the code MrBucs, you will get a $100 deposit match up to $100 whenever you do use that code MrBucs. Again, thank you so much for Sleeper for sponsoring this channel. Guys, download the app today and experience football the way it was meant to be. That is together. Now, obviously, we do got to talk about the negatives of the PFF grades offensively. Charlie Heck, rough time. Pass blocking 29.4, run blocking 38.8. He's probably going to be your starting right tackle going forward with Luke Goedeke being out. To be honest with you, he had one terrible matchup against Will Anderson Jr., so definitely take this grade with a grain of salt, but I am curious to see if the Buccaneers do try anything to help out Graham Barton going forward. Not Graham Barton, Charlie Heck. Speaking of Graham Barton, he's the 2nd lowest graded offensive player for the Bucs in week number 2. A fantastic run blocking grade of 75.7, by the way, which was 2nd highest on the Bucs. However, that pass blocking grade was pretty bad at a 25.5. That is the lowest for all the offensive linemen in week number 2. Again, much like what I said with Charlie Heck, Graham Barton had to go up against Neil Hunter. That's not an easy matchup either. So again, take that pass blocking rating with a little bit of a grain of salt. Cade Otton checks in at number 3. I feel like this is the second week in a row Cade Otton has been in the bottom 5. That's not a great sign. He was pretty solid in pass and run blocking, but still hasn't really been a factor in terms of the passing game. He did have a drop in this game, so maybe that does factor into it, but they need to get Cade Otton going. Finally, Cameron Johnson and Sterling Shepard round out the overall grades with a mediocre 57 and 58 grade respectively. Now, to the defensive side of the ball we go. Firstly, talking about the highest graded defenders, Elijah Roberts checks in at number 1. It is important to note that Elijah Roberts did not necessarily play a ton of snaps for the Bucs in week number 2. If I can go ahead and see, where are we in terms of the snap counts? He played 13 defensive snaps. So not exactly a gigantic sample size, but still, Roberts still made the most of his limited time out there. He did some pretty solid work, all things considered. Shout out to Elijah Roberts for going out there and just overall looking pretty good in terms of run defense, tackling. The pass rushing grade does need to improve in my opinion, but Roberts still got a solid overall grade. Jacob Parrish checks in at number 2. He's had a very good start to the year. Run defense grade was solid. Pass rush was fine. He actually had the second best coverage grade for the Bucs in week number 2 behind Hassan Reddick, which is absolutely freaking crazy in my opinion. But, out of all the defensive backs, Jacob Parrish was the best coverage guy in week 2, so shout out to him for that. Antoine Winfield Jr. checks in at number 3, 72.9 overall grade. Run defense was Tackling was fantastic. He was the best tackler on the Buccaneers according to PFF in week number 2. Coverage grade was also really solid at a 72 overall grade as well. Greg Gaines checks in at number 4, 71.3 overall grade. The run defense was meh, with a 58.3. Tackling was solid with a 66.8. And his pass rush, he actually graded out to be the second best pass rusher for the Bucs in this game at a 72.5 overall pass rushing grade. He's going to be getting more playing time going forward with Kalaji Kancey out for the season with a pec injury. Finally, Tyke Smith checks in at number 5 with a 67.7 overall grade. Just solid numbers all around. Run defense 71, tackling 66, pass rush 69, coverage not great with a 59.6, but overall Tyke Smith had a fine overall defensive day. For the lowest graded defensive players here, number 1, it's SirVocea Dennis. Now, this is the second week in a row. I don't think SirVocea Dennis has been number 1 for the for 2 weeks in a row. Let me check. No, but he was number 4 in terms of the worst graded players last week, and this week he's number 1. So, not a great situation there for Mr. SirVocea Dennis. Let's take a deeper look into this, and it kind of describes perfectly what we're seeing. Run defense with Dennis is very solid. Tackling is very solid as well whenever he does hit the right angles and stuff like that. Pass rush, not really getting there. Coverage, he was the lowest graded coverage guy for the Buccaneers this past week. It's not surprising. This is like the second week in a row he's been in either the lowest or top 5 lowest in terms of coverage grades for the Bucs as well. I've talked about it before. Right now, he's just a liability in coverage. Point blank, simple as that. Benjamin Morrison actually checks in here as the second lowest graded Buck. That is disappointing, but this was his first ever NFL game. I'm going to give him a bit of a pass on this one. Again, coverage grade was not great. The overall defensive grade doesn't look that good as well, but he did have a solid run defense grade, all things considered. Deion Jones actually checks in here with his limited snaps at number 3, 33.8 overall grade. Run defense, not great. The tackling, not terrible. In the top 6 for Buccaneers in terms of tackling grades in week 2, and he was technically the best pass rusher in the Bucs week 2 win with an 88.5 overall pass rushing grade. So that probably saves him, but limited capacity. Look, I'm still kind of clamoring for Deion Jones to get more playing time over SirVocea Dennis. Whether or not that will or won't happen, we're just going to have to wait and see. Lavonte David checks in here at number 4. Very unfortunate to see for one of the GOATs of the Buccaneers. 45.6 overall grade. Run defense was okay. Tackling was abysmal. Lavonte David actually the second lowest graded tackling player in week number 2. That is very, very surprising. And then in coverage, You're looking at him being the third lowest graded coverage player for the Bucs in week 2, and the only guys below him are Benjamin Morrison and Servassier Dennis. What is going on here? This is probably just an outlier. Hopefully it is an outlier. And Levante David can return to form. And then Zion McCollum checks in here at number 5, 46.8 defensive grade. The run defense was good. The tackling was solid. He was the second best tackler on the team. Coverage grade, not great. He did give up that touchdown to Nico Collins, which was a interesting play. I thought he had good coverage on that play, but it is what it is. So Zion McCollum had a bit of a rough go in week number 2 as well. Finally, let us go and check out special teams just to wrap up this video. Firstly, top guys, Deion Jones getting some work on special teams. He is the top-rated special teams guy, followed by Benjamin Morrison, Kendall Vidor, who made his Bucs debut today or in week number 2, Payne Durham, and Christian Izien. The worst-graded special teams players are Anthony Nelson, Marquise Watts, Ryan Miller, Evan Deckers, and Kayvon Merriweather. I'm curious if any of that has to do with the blocked punt. Very curious about that. Riley Dixon did not get a great overall grade for his punting ability. It is what it is. Chase McLaughlin did not get a good grade for his field goal ability. What are his 2 Pro Football Focus grades now through 2 weeks? Yeah, we got to improve those field goal numbers, baby. We got to improve those field goal grades. Chase McLaughlin, golly. But shout out to the top-rated special teams players from this past week. Where are the... There we go. There are the grades. And then the lowest ones, as I said, definitely need to improve. I do wonder if any of those guys did contribute to that blocked punt that happened. But that's it, guys. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about these grades down in the comments section below. I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.